for me, there's no amount of repression that will get me to stop speaking about Palestine, because if I'm not talking about Palestine, I might as well be dead. So there's really nothing that I could be threatened with to silence me. And I see that in so many people here in the US.
The shift in the world public opinion in favor of the Palestinian cause and the Palestinian rights has great people behind it, represented by the activists who spare no effort to raise the voice for the Palestinian children, the Palestinian women, the Palestinian people, exposing the Israeli genocide crimes. One of the main international organizations working for justice for Palestine in the United States is called PINK. And Noor Jagama, who is a member of this organization, is the guest of our program for today. Welcome to the program, Noor.
Thank you so much for having me.
Noor, we always start our program with the situation in Gaza Strip. And if you describe to me as a Palestinian American and as an activist of Code Pink, how you follow up the ongoing Israeli carnage against the Palestinian children, Palestinian women, the elderly, all the civilians in Gaza?
I mean, it's a completely disgusting situation. It's almost beyond words, because it's something that I feel like we haven't really seen before, this easily at least. Like, I know everybody can open up their phone and literally see gross acts of human rights violations and the complete humanitarian crisis in Gaza that, on top of all this, is completely manufactured by Israel and the US through this genocide for the last 20 months. So sometimes I find myself not having words, but if I had to put it in words, I would call it disgusting, disgraceful, and devastating.
Yeah. Now, many Western governments, whether the government of the United States, the government of the UK, are restricting the activities of the organizations and the movements of solidarity with the Palestinians' rights. And we see how the UK government is lashing out at Action for Palestine. We see the activists in the United States being dismissed from their universities. Their right of residence is sometimes affected. So as an activist there, how you face up to such policy by the government?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm Palestinian. So, you grow up with your entire life's purpose being towards servicing Palestine and your people and, liberating Palestine. So, and it's not just, people who are Palestinian. I find so many people in the US who have those same values and the same conviction for life and liberty that Palestinians do. And there's really no amount of suppression or repression that could take that away, because that's a value, and I think that our governments try to repress us because they don't actually operate on any values or any true conviction for life. It's, motivated by money and politics, and we're not motivated that way. So I think these governments think that if they punish us in those ways, they'll get the results that they want to see. But the reality is the more aggressive they are, the more they oppress people, the more they commit genocide in Palestine, and the more they try to suffocate the masses who stand up for Palestinians, the more everybody else is going to respond with resistance, And I think that, you see people in the US who are just simply witnessing this genocide, right? And we feel also that we're complicit in it because our tax money is being used against our will to fund this genocide. And that comes from our own true beliefs and values against it. So really, for me, there's no amount of repression that will get me to stop speaking about Palestine, because if I'm not talking about Palestine, I might as well be dead. So there's really nothing that I could be threatened with to silence me. And I see that in so many people here in the US.
Yeah. And Noor, if you tell us about your personal experience, because I read about your story when you were at the Congress and you were accused of, trying to assault a Congress member, and you were put under arrest for a period of time. if you would tell us about this experience and why they accused you of that.
Yeah. Looking back, that was about a year ago. So
Yeah.
it's like funny now for me.
Yes.
But yeah, so it was the Republican National Convention. It was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that's where they decide, you know, they nominate the Republican, the nominee for president, right? And we were there to make sure that people were talking about Palestine, to make sure that we had our anti-imperialist message. But we weren't really doing anything crazy. We were in line for a women's brunch, you know, and I'm a woman, okay, and this congressman was a man. I just want to put that out there. But we're standing in line. I'm wearing my keffiyeh. I'm the only Palestinian in this group, and suddenly I feel this man kind of like push behind me. All of a sudden, the police are taking me to the side and telling me that I'm being detained. You know, very crazy, and it happened very quickly. And yeah, he accused me of assault and battery, which, you know, was ridiculous because I knew it didn't happen. But in that moment, I was, I think, very calm because I knew that, okay, you know, this is the US. People do get arrested for things that they haven't done, right? People get targeted. And you know, he told me he was a member of Congress. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know who he was until after I got out of jail.
Yeah.
But I knew that, you know, we weren't just dealing with the police. We were dealing with the Secret Service, Homeland Security, all of like the highest authorities in the US. So I was like, okay, let me just be calm. Let me just go through this and see what happens. I know I didn't do anything wrong. So I know that a bunch of people are going to show up for me and make sure that I'm okay and make sure that I'm out. So, you know, I really wasn't worried. And I was detained for 16 hours and I was let out at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, just by myself onto the street. But, you know, that's really nothing when you think about Palestinian political prisoners, when you think about the living situation in Gaza. Like, I can't, you know, I was inside, I was clothed, I was, you know, it was 16 hours because just targeted for being Palestinian, which I think is a small price to pay when you think about the people of Gaza and everybody in Palestine.
Yeah, we see now the campaign by some Western governments against the activists who protest the Israeli genocide against the children of Gaza and who call for the rights of the Palestinian people to live in their homeland, free of the Israeli occupation. The campaign is getting worse from time to time. Many students are forced to drop their courses at universities. As I said before, the right of residence sometimes is dropped. So to what effect these policies, you think, achieve what these governments are aimed to achieve, to silence the solidarity movement?
Yeah, I think in some ways, I think overall they won't be successful, but I think in some ways they seek to intimidate people, you know, especially people with, you know, maybe not a solid like residency status here in the US, like maybe, you know, especially people who are undocumented or on green cards. These people might have to, you know, have like more of a quiet effort for Palestine because their livelihood is genuinely at risk. So I think in some ways people are scared a little bit, so they are maybe a little bit quieter. I think especially it depends, like I said, on your citizenship status. But I think overall, I don't think people are actually being quieter at all. I think that the administration at universities are now being more harsh towards their students. And I think that the administrations themselves are changing their policy. Actually, the university I graduated from, DePaul University, received, you know, so there's this organization called the Anti-Defamation League. They're one of these organizations really pushing for policy to silence activism for Palestine. They're one of the organizations pushing the conflation between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism as a way to silence advocacy for Palestine. And that organization, the ADL, gave my university that I graduated from a poor ranking. They called them anti-Semitic, basically, because there was a lot of activism for Palestine on that campus, which is true. One of the reasons why I went to that school is because the student organizations for Palestine are so strong. But the university itself does not advocate for Palestine. Actually, to this day, they refuse to call Israel's genocide on Gaza a genocide, although it's been recognized by international organizations. So, now DePaul, this university, has an anti-Semitism task force on campus policing the students to make sure that, they're not organizing for Palestine. So I think that now there's a lot more systems set up to silence people, but people aren't listening. And I wish that these organizations would understand that the more they try to repress, the more active we're going to be.
Yeah. My final question to you, Noor, I know that your family is descending from a nearby village here, I think Ain Yaprud, and you still keep the dialect of the Palestinian villages near Ramallah. So your final word, what do you wish for your village and for the rest of Palestine here?
Liberation. You mentioned Ain Yaprud. There's a settlement near Ain Yaprud, and it's getting bigger and bigger, and it's more dangerous to go out at night. And I just want to live freely, and I want to return home, and I want all Palestinians to be able to return and live with dignity on our land, and to treat our land with the love that we want to treat it, and to just be free without Israel's occupation, just free Palestine.
Noor, it has been a great honor having you on our program. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
Thank
amazing.
you.
And next time we'll do it in Arabic.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I hope so.
Inshallah.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. And from Usama Nazal, have a nice time.